Hello and welcome to Morning Java here on DKPittsburghSports.com. I'm Chris Carter here with Dale Lolley, and we're talking all things Steelers. They're out of the playoffs, but as always, there's no stopping the talk of the NFL.
They might be out of the playoffs,
season.
But they're not out of your mind.
No, they're not, because we know you're talking about them. Let's talk about one of the biggest news pieces right now, and that's Ben Roethlisberger talking about the continuity and wanting to keep that and not shake up things too much in the Steelers coaching staff moving forward.
Yeah, and the big thing is that he's coming back.
Yes.
And he didn't wait to announce that. Of course, you had the story on it after the game, Chris.
I got a story.
He had a story coming out of the game that he said, look, I'm coming back next year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Steelers, of course, want him back next year.
Yep.
They don't have to wait. And I think the good thing about this is that, last year all the talk was, oh, boy.
Do they get a quarterback?
Is he going to come back? Is he going to come back? They're going to draft a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to draft, and the Steelers are like, look, we think he's coming back.
Yeah, and you and I, we've been saying all year, this isn't his last rodeo. Maybe if he got hurt, then you could talk about that. But he came through this clean, and I think it's important to notice two different things. I noted this in the story that I wrote. Last year when they ended, he was throwing touchdowns to Kobe Hamilton. He didn't have anybody really going on. The offense was struggling. He messed up really in the Chiefs game. He was not good in the Patriots game. He was not good. That probably hurt his confidence. He just put up 42 points on what was considered the NFL's best defense or next best defense behind the Minnesota Vikings. I'm thinking he feels pretty confident as long as that offensive line and Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell's there, that he's going to be able to play next year and be at full strength.
Yeah, and they really, in the second half of the season,
they put it together.
They put it together. It took some time to kind of incorporate Juju Smith-Schuster, incorporate Vance McDonald,
and get Martavis Bryant back in the fold.
Get Martavis back running, correctly and getting him back in the fold. So I think the arrow is pointed up with this offense.
But Dale, we got to fire Todd Haley. That's the problem. Everyone knows.
And that could happen. We'll see. I think Mike Tomlin is going to have to sit down and assess. Sit down with both guys and separately and say, look, is this a relationship that needs to end, or is this a relationship that you guys feel like you can work through? And if it's a relationship that they feel like they can work through, despite there being at odds at times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to happen. There's going to be clashes. Guess what? Ben Roethlisberger's clashed with every offensive coordinator that he's had.
Even Bruce Arians.
Every one of them. That's just his personality. Mm-hmm. So it's going to happen. It's going to be a question for Tomlin. Is this something that's going to be detrimental to the team?
Yeah.
If he feels that's the case, then they part ways with Todd Haley and they go in another direction. If not, you continue this. And again, Ben Roethlisberger has been sacked the fewest times in his career in each of the last 3 years.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
Yeah, and he's thrown over 1,500 passes in that time period. He's had his best seasons under Todd Haley. They've been, in the last 4 years, they haven't been lower than 7th in total offense, and that was last year when he was throwing to Kobe Hamilton and guys
Marcus
like that. Yeah. So I think Bruce Arians I think Todd Haley has done his job correctly. They just haven't won, and that's not all on the offense. I think the defense has been a big part of that as well.
Very true. So, Dale, we talked about the offense. Let's talk about the adjustments on defense, because obviously they have to fire Keith Butler, too, right? They got to fire everybody. Fire them all. They all deserve. Get the heck out of here, man. I think we're on the same page here. Keith Butler just put up a franchise record for sacks in the season with 56, most in the NFL, and they did that in the second half with their X-Factor player missing. I don't think there should be much of a shakeup as far as the defensive coordinator position in this team.
Yeah, I think you make some minor adjustments to the coaching staff. I think you could see 1 or 2 defensive assistants go, and I think you could see 1 or 2 defensive starters or guys who played key roles for this team this season go. Yes, I'm talking about Mike Mitchell. 2 pass defenses this year, no interceptions. The ship has sailed. I realize he was playing most of the season on injured ankle. That can't be an excuse. He makes a big
$8 million cap hit next year.
$8 million cap hit next year.
That.
The Steelers are not paying that, and they're going to move on from him at free safety. You're also going to see William Gay probably go. So you'll at least need a new dime cornerback as well. I expect Cameron Sutton to be in the mix.
For
maybe
that.
maybe for both of those positions.
Yeah, because he's a guy that at Tennessee he could play any spot at cornerback, but also he's a really good tackler. He understands football concepts. Maybe he's that guy you want at free safety, roaming around, maybe making plays in the ball. Also, don't forget, they have Brian Allen still on the roster, and they kept him off the practice squad for a reason all season. he may be a guy that they try to work in and maybe even be the guy that they eventually hope that Joe Hayden will pass the mantle to in a few years. All that being said, there are investments that need to be made in this offseason.
Yeah, I think, obviously you have to, as much as it hurts, you have to think about a long-term replacement for Ryan Shazier.
Yeah.
You can't go into the offseason thinking that he might come back.
Yeah.
He's probably not coming back. And so you have to think long-term with a replacement for him. That will be one of the keys to this offseason. We'll see where it goes from there.
Now we're going to take the time to address something that we caught. There's a report from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk that some of the Steelers' minority owners are going to lobby to the Rooneys to get Mike Tomlin out. Dale, how's this going to go?
They're going to find out exactly how much of a minority stake in the team they have and what that means. This is not college football.
No.
This is not the boosters are going to go get the coach fired.
This ain't Tennessee.
This isn't high school. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Quite frankly, the Steelers have had 3 head coaches. Basically,
since 1969.
They've had 4 in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn 50 this year. Okay.
There you go.
They've had basically 3 head coaches in my lifetime because I was born in 1968. They hired Chuck Noll in 1969.
Yeah, whoever it was, I don't even know him. He doesn't count.
Chuck Noll struggled in his first couple seasons with the Steelers. They stuck with him.
Yep.
Bill Cowher.
3 years without playoffs in a row.
And also went 14 years without winning the Super Bowl, including losing in the AFC Championship at home 4 times. 4.
There were so many.
Okay, so they didn't panic. They didn't push the panic button in those situations. They're not going to panic with Mike Tomlin. They've gotten a good nucleus together here. They're on the right track. They just haven't won the Super Bowl. Not everybody is going to win it every year.
Right. There's only one team that wins it every year. I think that's a saying that I've said for a long time. But here's the thing. What has made so many people a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers and then made them such a reputable organization is their continuity. They don't panic. They don't have knee-jerk reactions. So if you're out there sitting, fan, whoever you are, think about this. If you wanted the Steelers to be like the Browns and shift coaches every 2 years and never have a foothold, that's what you're pushing them to. Yeah. The Rooneys don't.
The Tennessee Titans just won their first playoff game since the 2008 season and fired their head coach. Is that really what you want to do?
Exactly. And then who knows if they'll be back next year or when they'll next win a playoff game. They still have never won a Super Bowl. So the point is the Steelers and the Rooneys have set a model of success for how things work. They don't rock the boat. They know what they're doing. They take their time to make these decisions. Stick with the plan. And now it's time for What's in Your Cup, the segment where we take questions from you, the subscribers, and answer them from the comment section below live on air. So Dale, today's question comes from Christopher Kochak. I hope that's how you pronounce your last name. With the wide receiver coach Richard Mann retiring after the season, is there any chance that Hines Ward, who's worked practice several times, takes the job?
Well, let me tell you this. There's a big difference between working practice several times and being the actual wide receivers coach. NFL coaches put in about 75, 80 hours a week. They work probably about 49 out of 52 weeks during the year. I don't see Hines Ward wanting to invest that amount of time in this. He's got TV stuff that he's still doing. He's got businesses that he owns.
Restaurants and everything.
So while it's nice to come back and help out every once in a while and be part of that, and that's great. The Steelers do it with a number of guys. Alan Faneca is there during training camp. A number of guys come in. Kendall Simmons last year. They bring guys back, and that's fantastic. It gives them a link to the past. I don't see many of those guys having the want or need to come back and put in those kind of hours. You're going from being a star player to being a guy in the background, and not everybody can handle that. So it's going to be up to Hines if he wants to pursue that. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I just think that Hines Ward is in a position. It's a lot like when John Gruden went and got a coaching job. He had to get a Raiders kind of deal to pull him out of his ESPN gig. Now, mind you, he's making much more money than most people were when he was with ESPN. But Hines Ward, I mean, yeah, you see him around. I think he was at the Bengals game when Shazier got hurt, and you saw him in training camp. But if I'm him and I'm sitting here thinking, unless I really want to make my mark as a coach and I want to get into that field, then I don't really see a reason to extend myself too far. It's a nice thought because, Hines Ward was a motivator. You know, I still remember, everyone remembers when in that playoff game when he pulled Limas Sweet in, and next thing you know, Limas Sweet throwing blocks that he never threw before. But it's going to take a lot more than that, and I'm sure the Steelers are going to be looking for someone who might have experience coaching wide receivers to bring him back, because Richard Mann was the man at coaching wide receivers. But thank you for the question, Christopher Kochak, and thank you for everyone for watching this morning job. But be sure to stay tuned for this week, because we got more content coming for you.